Hello everyone, and welcome to this video, which is in our Great Engine Game series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler, and we're taking a look at a game between Leela Zero and Stockfish 15, 100 million nodes, in the TCEC Season 22 Cup 10 testing. So what is this strange engine, Stockfish 15, 100 million nodes? Well, the TCEC admin is very keen on experimenting, and in order to test all 32 engines taking part in the Cup, he decided to pit them against Stockfish 15, thinking for a fixed number of moves. So Stockfish then wasn't allocating its time, spending more time in complicated positions, less time in easy positions. Every single move it was thinking for a fixed number of nodes, 100 million in this case, and then making its move straight away. So slightly crippled, really. And there were various sizes. There was a 30 million node version, a 100 million node version, a 300 million node version, and a 1,000 million node version. So this is towards the lower end of the scale. Now, despite this handicap, I mean, Stockfish did incredibly well. But this was a game that it rather unusually lost against Leela Zero. And it was an absolutely beautiful game, so I thought I'd share it with you. The opening was a Staunton gambit in actual fact, d4 f5 and then 2 e4. Now black didn't play the most crucial line. Black just gives the pawn back and heads for quick development. I mean, after bishop f6, I've always considered white to be pleasantly better in this position. White's got a nice space advantage. Quite a few choices about type of plan to play. You can try and clamp down with f4 in the centre. You can choose to castle queenside. The black kingside's a little bit weak. It's missing that knight on f6 and the f-pawn. And it's not easy for black to get the light squared bishop developed, so to make something of the two bishops. I was a little bit surprised that the engines gave it already over +1, but well, that's how engines are nowadays. They're certainly not shy about giving a very optimistic evaluation about opening positions. So c3 was played, castles, and yeah, I mean, now black's actually threatening to play e5 and just open up the centre. And in one of my engine games, this was Dragon against Stockfish on my 94 thread machine. Yeah, bishop d3, e5 was the move. Actually, it got very interesting because, of course, Dragon hadn't missed this e5 move. It had an idea. So knight f6, queen h5, hitting h7 and e5. Queen f2, king d1, g6, bishop c4 check, king g7, queen e5, queen f6, queen c7. And to be honest, you know, I did think that that this was a really nice way of playing, and that white would just be much better. But somehow Stockfish decided that this was you know, only a slight advantage for white, and well, he managed to save it after knight a6 takes, queen a6, knight f3, rook f7, queen e5 check, queen e2. Check there, and b5. I don't know, I mean, still I'm looking at the position and I'm thinking this just looks so good for white still. But yeah, there was a draw not so many moves later. So black's idea, yeah, really to play e5, although this one was obviously right on the limit. Leela just played the quiet move knight f3 just to stop e5, and after knight c6, various ideas, but h4 was a very popular engine move. So number of possibilities, I think. I mean, you're supporting knight g5, you know, bishop d3, queen h5, which is a very nice way of exploiting the weakness of the h7 pawn. There's no knight to f6 to defend, as we said before, and no possibility of putting an f pawn on f5, you know, to block the b1 h7 diagonal. There's also the other idea of this rook's pawn, which we'll see a little bit later in the game. So d5 was played by Stockfish. Knight f6, queen f6, and queen d2. And well, white's just planning to castle queenside. And yeah, I mean, this move d5, if black can play e5, then it's okay. If black can't play e5, then it's going to be a little bit problematic because, well, black's just going to have a lot of weak squares. Now, I mean, e5 immediately doesn't do anything at all. We just take, and we go queen takes d5 check, you know, so very easy. So black played a6 here. Just stopping bishop b5. So you're trying to stop white from swapping off the light squared bishop for the knight and establishing perfect control of e5. h5. Is this an attacking move? Well, not really in actual fact. It's a very positional move. And, well, I think that the black really should have played this move h6. When I think that Stockfish, I think, played it on its own. And, yeah, also when I, stimulated my engines to play it, then was ending up with more draws than wins. Which is quite different to what happens after you allow white to play h6 itself. For example, castles, queen f4, rook h4, takes, rook f7, bishop d3, bishop d7, b3, rook f8, rook e1. It's not pleasant for black. I mean, black is essentially condemned to passive defense all the way. But I think having the pawn on h6 is a big help. I mean, the g6 square is weak, but keeping the knight out of g5 is particularly nice, I think. So I think that h6 would have been a good move. Black played bishop d7 in the game, and Leela straight away played h6. So, well, just trying to open up the king side. Black goes g6. But now this is, I mean, I really think this is a big advantage for white, having this sort of king side pawn structure. We've got the g5 square for the knight, which will be available. Obviously, this pawn on h6, it's, already it's pinning down the pawn on h7. That can be a potential target. We're going to see this numerous times in the variations. And of course, you could imagine a later ending where white has some sort of bishop d3 takes g6 trick, and after hg, the h7 pawn queen. So, it's really, this is a very big advantage, and of course it's also weakening black's control of the dark squares, and well, the dark squares, that's just the thing that that black is weak on. So g6 castles, and now Stockfish played queen f4. This is maybe, one of those moves where you say, Stockfish with a few more nodes maybe would have played something different, because on my 94 thread machine, the latest version of Stockfish from 14th of May was playing rook e8, and well, Dragon was always replying with rook e1, and after rook f7 c4 was breaking with e5. Now it still looked a little bit fraught. Takes, knight takes d4, takes, bishop c4, and now this nice move, king f8, just getting out of this discovered attack. Rook e8, bishop e8, f3, rook d7. And we were getting this type of position. Rook d1, rook d6, takes, bishop f7. And, well, black is a pawn down, but c6 is happening with this rook pinned. And, well, this h6 pawn, it's good, but somehow with the white pieces tied down to defending the d pawn, it's also going to be a bit of a prey now for a black king coming in. And, well, my engines, both Stockfish as black and Komodo as black, were finding it quite easy to hold the draw there. So it could be that rook e8 would be a better move. Queen f4 is kind of giving white everything that it wants, really, because you're exchanging off the queens, and now there's not going to be any counterplay. And well, without the queens, e6 to e5 is unlikely to ever happen. So basically, black is sort of going to be waiting passively, and white is in complete control. And of course, those are the positions that Leela plays extremely well, even against Stockfish. So rook f4 played. Yeah, black going to bring the rook to f8, and we'll try and play something like rook g4, try and create some counterplay, aim for some instability there on the white king side. But Leela plays very calmly here. So bishop c2 is the first move, maybe looking for a bishop a4 takes c6, just throwing that into the mix. And after rook af8, bishop a4 was possible here, but Leela plays king d1. So the king's just coming in now to support the king side and then allow this knight to move. Leela's just basically looking for more space. That's and just dealing with the initial problems there. Bishop e8 played, king e2, knight d8, king e3. Well, the king on e3, attacking the rook on f4, of course, but also defending the pawn on f2. So now this knight on e5 is ready to move, and after that we'll be able to drive back the black rook with g3 and then f4. So here once again, well, you see, yeah, probably, with more thinking time, Stockfish probably, realizes better that the situation is extremely crucial, and sort of takes some more concrete countermeasures. So c5 was what my Indians were playing. D takes c5, rook c4, which is not too bad. I mean, you're trying to loosen up the white position. You're trying to at least weaken white's control of e5 there. And well, when Stockfish was black, it managed to sort of hold things together. Rook e7, rook e2, and played e5 there. You know, it was very, very uncomfortable, but somehow managed to hold a draw against Dragon. Here, Stockfish played much more quietly, which was b6. b3, c5, and now knight e5 from white. And, well, we're going to get our stuff. Knight c6. We chase away the rook, and then we play f4. So, yeah, again, you know, black's just been pushed back, and white's completely active. Now, what black does get the chance to do here is to take on e5 and destroy this outpost. So in some ways, that's positive. On the negative side, it's opening up the D file, half opening the file, and it's going to give white extra possibilities to break open the center. So rook f7 played, and now rook f1. What's white doing with this move? Just getting the rook out of this diagonal. Once the bishop comes to c6, you don't want to be caught out by d5 to d4. But also giving white all sorts of options, for example, to play g4 and f5. So bishop b5 was played, rook g1, and now rook e8. Now already with Stockfish as white against Komodo Dragon, Dragon 3 as black, Stockfish was winning virtually everything here in my games. Dragon somehow was getting stuck in a position it was heading for again and again and again, and then giving it a big evaluation, and then never being able to make progress. So that sort of skewed the results quite a bit. But really, you know, Stockfish was winning a lot of games here. The key thing is for white's got to open up plenty of lines, because you know, if its rooks get into the 7th or 8th rank, then this particular weakness of black's will really start to pay dividends. And it's not so important that, you know, that white keeps material parity. So giving away a pawn is fine. It's just important that you open up lines. And somehow that's what Dragon 3 didn't quite get right, but this is what Leela got very right in this game, and what Stockfish was doing very well in my test games. So c4 played. That's what Leela wants to do. So d takes c4. We just go rook d6 after and start attacking the pawns. You know, it's just very, very nice. And well, you're going to win back all your pawns and have open lines to boot. So bishop c6 was played by Stockfish, just trying to keep it together. And now a really nice move from Leela, b4. Again, you're just it doesn't matter about pawns. You're just trying to break open the queen side and create open files. So after c takes b4, we just go bishop b3, takes, b5, bishop b3. You know, just quiet play. But yeah, we've now opened up this diagonal. We've got the d file, we've got the c file. You know, black isn't going to be able to resist. And yeah, I mean, this pawn is very, very weak. So, for example, bishop d7, rook d1, bishop c8, rook d8, king f8, takes, rook d6. We're hitting this pawn, rook e7 to defend, rook b6. And now king d4, and we're coming in with king c5. You know, you can just see how huge the white position is there. And well, I mean, just to give you one little example, I mean, this was the position we got a few moves later, and Stockfish aimed for this position, and the idea was after bishop b7, it just gave away the light squared bishop, and then took this pawn on h7, and then just played rook g7, h7, and rook g8, and queened the pawn. Just goes to show, you know, this AlphaZero h6 pawn, you know, this idea that's so, you know, so loved and really, you know, really made, you know, into a strategical cliche really by the neural nets. I mean, it can be so strong in these positions. Put the pawn back on h2, and you know, maybe the ending isn't that fantastic, but pawn on h6 and it's just winning. So after b4, Stockfish tried to keep things tight at the back and played d4 check, king f2. But now we're aiming for to open the b file with bc and rook b1. But after rook b8, yeah, I mean, Leela didn't try and open up and then challenge. It just put the rook straight away onto b1, and it's just going to ramp up the pressure. So rook b7, bishop d3, not, you know, prematurely exchanging on c5. We're just going to go rook db2 and wait until we're absolutely ready to invade. a5, a3, and now this was the thing that impressed me most about the game, the one that made me really go, ooh, ow. Because g5 is happening, and actually, you know, just looking at it, you think, oh God, you know, has something gone wrong here? You know, this pawn is attacked by the pawn on g5. This d5 to d4 that Leela provoked, you know, pushed the king back from e3 into a pin. Looks like black's just winning a pawn. But of course, Leela had seen this all, and its idea was to play rook db2, trying to invade on the b file, and after gf, it just plays g4. Really just absorbing this this black play on the king side, and the point is that there's actually not very much that black can do here. You know, black can't attack any of these pawns. These rooks are completely restricted. We're going to start invading now on the queen side, and of course, playing this g5 takes f4. It's opened up the b1 h7 diagonal. So if all the rooks get exchanged, the king will be completely tied down to the defense of the h7 pawn. Again, it's not important to have pawns really. It's all about open lines and well, quality of pawns as well, of course. So Stockfish didn't want to allow b takes c5 and rook b6. So it played c takes b4, a takes b4, and a4 in a similar way to Leela on the king side, just trying to absorb this pressure. But now we get b5, bishop b8, and rook a2. Oh, that's revenge, beating up Marvin there. Beautiful game, actually. Might well do a video on that one. Rook a2, and well, now we've locked in this bishop, this light square bishop again, and we're just going to take the pawn. And well, that's our invasion file. It's going to be the a file. So rook f8, rook takes a4, bishop g6, rook d1, and essentially, you know, Leela's just was already, you know, at plus 10 or whatever, already totally cruising. Just seeing that that pawns are just going to be picked up. I mean, we're going to pick up the d pawn, then we're going to come to d6, and we're going to grab b6 or e6 together with something like rook a6. It's actually complete child's play, and yeah, I mean, all of my engine games proceeded virtually the same. There was nothing to be done. So king f3, disactivating the king there, rook a6, targeting this b6 pawn, bishop d3, rook d3, king g6, rook takes d4. That's the first pawn. Rook c8, just hitting this one, just stopping the rook coming to d6. King f4, king h6, and now again, you know, the king has done some great work there. It came from c1 just to protect a pawn on f2 and help chase away a rook from f4, and now it's just going to go back and defend the pawn on c4, and this is going to free the rook on d4 to go to d6, and then we're going to pick up b6 and e6. Rook cb8, king c3, lovely. Just a nice little waiting move. Just also the king's coming round to b4 to really support these two pawns. And now rook d6, hitting the pawn on b6 and e6. Rook bc7, rook a4. The other rook retreats because we're attacking these two pawns with this rook. King g4, rook b6. We take the most valuable one first, the one that frees these two connected passed pawns. King f5, rook ba6. And the boys are going to run. Rook a7 is a nice move, just hitting the rook. Obviously, if you can exchange off both of the rook, if you can exchange off one pair of rooks rather, that gives black a lot less counterplay. Rook b5 is threatened, so white plays king b4. Rook g8, rook a1. We're also looking to trap the black king as well. And we go rook c7, and we start using the rooks to shield everything. b7, we're threatening rook a8. Rook g2, a little trick there, just looking to check from the back. But this move, rook b1, is very nice. And then after h5, we go c5. Rook g8, c6, h4. And yeah, okay, that's a one lone pawn, but I mean, two connected passed pawns are huge. Rook g2, rook c8, and that was the end of the story. Leela won in a few more moves. I mean, that was a really great game. I mean, obviously, Stockfish not playing at full strength, so Stockfish fans don't get annoyed. But this is really, you know, just a very nice game, a very nice thematic win from Leela. You know, first of all, this lovely idea just of moving the rook's pawn to h6, creating this long-term weakness, and then Stockfish not calculating as deeply as it normally would, not really finding those sort of amazing concrete defences that it finds normally, and heading really for a position without counterplay. But you know, just some very nice stifling play from Leela. King coming round to e3 was really nice, just a good spot for the king there. And then just beautiful positional play, you know, c4 and b4. Just really just understanding that you've got to open up lines. Pawns don't matter, it's just open lines now, because there's so many advantages, you know, weak pawn, weak king, you know, that you can exploit once you've got open lines. And then the real beautiful thing in this really beautiful piece in judgment, this absorbing of black's counterplay. And, you know, it has to be seen many moves in advance, but just g4 like this, and yeah, just understanding that you know, how temporary black's counterplay is, and how you know, how much a room white has for dealing with it. And yeah, you know, the conversion was very, very smooth as well. Hope you enjoyed that game. I'm probably not going to be doing a video every day. That was a bit crazy. I kept it up for a very long time. There were so many exciting things, the in fee, the sous fee, and the sub fee. But hopefully going to be starting to do videos again. So please, if you like this video, why not give it a like, or subscribe to the channel so that you're notified of new videos. Even take a look at my new book, The Silicon Road to Chess Improvement, which I am still very, very proud of. It's you know, lots of amazing engine games and a huge amount of tips for training with engines, and lots of my secret training games as well with engines. But otherwise, you know, thanks very much for watching, and really hope to see you for the next video. Thanks for watching.